Welcome to the first episode of Thermal Thug Podcast, where we're going to be talking about everything night hunting, caliber thermals. My name is Steve Neece. I'm your host. I've been in the night industry, hunting industry now for 15 years. You may or may not know me. I'm going to be your host tonight and excited to have our first ever show. And we have Angel Padilla, Sandy Creek Outfitters. And we also have Chris Wisecarver, founder of Fusion Thermal. And guys, this is it, episode 1.
All right, we're here.
We're here.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Finally made it.
Yep. It's been a long time coming.
Angel, welcome to Hammond. It's been, we've been wanting to get you down here for a long time.
I appreciate the invite. I've driven by probably 5 or 6 times, and I always call you. I just drove by. Why don't you stop? I said one day.
Yeah.
We finally made it. We're here.
Well, you're here tonight.
Yes, sir.
We're glad that you're here on the first ever episode.
Yeah, what a fitting first guest.
I appreciate it. Man.
Angel
It means a lot
Padilla.
to me being the first guy.
Right. Yep. Very cool.
Yep.
So what's been going on in your world? Tell us a little bit about you, how you got started. Everybody's interested in bro.
Man, it's been a long years doing this, So back when I used to live back in Austin, I had a friend of mine. He goes, "Man, we need to go shoot pigs." I was never interested. I was always into racing cars and doing other stuff. And one day he goes, "You got to do this." So I went and bought a gun, and I had a daytime scope, and I went and bought a clip-on night vision deal. I went and sighted it in, and he goes, "I got a place out here a couple hours from here." I said, "A couple hours? What are you talking about?" So we got in the car, we went down there, and he had a feeder, typical first-time deal, and I didn't know what to think. I said, "That'd be fun." So it was probably, we got there at 7 before, it got dark, or 6:30 or something. It was during the summertime, but it got dark at night. And I'm like, "Where are these pigs at?" Everybody says they're a nuisance, they're everywhere, and I don't know. So I got the plan on my phone like everybody does, like my 15-year-old son, So it got dark, and I turned the night vision on, and I said, "Oh my God, they're coming towards us, right?" And he said, be quiet, they're coming." And this is before I had a suppressor or anything. He said, "Hey, wouldn't let me cover my ears." Boom, boom, boom. I started blasting. I shot a couple pigs, and it's been history ever since.
Rest
then,
is
right?
history.
It's interesting how you can have one event like that set your life in a completely different years.
Yep.
And it's, I'm sure it's happened to you as well, Steve. It's just incredible.
Absolutely. I can remember my first pig like it was yesterday, really, which was probably 20 years ago, with night vision, of course. I mean, we've all killed them in daytime growing up, out of a deer stand. But let's talk about, I think a lot of people want to know, like, how you and I, when we first met. Should I tell the story?
Yeah, tell the story, David.
Okay.
It's pretty. Sorry, I call him by his middle name.
We have this game.
It's weird.
David and Lewis.
I'm sorry if I screwed up your podcast.
No. So probably about 10 years ago, I was invited out to this ranch in Columbus, Texas to do some machine gun shooting. And I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I've really never shot a machine gun before. And they said, "Come on out, all the ammo's on the house, just come out and shoot machine guns, and we'll do a night hunt that night." And I pull up, and I see this big burly guy, and he has all these transferable machine guns and wearing this big gold chain. And he was about, I would say, 30 pounds heavier then?
Yeah, I was.
That's when
I was a little heavy on the plate. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, who is, I thought he was like a Pablo Escobar, and all these expensive guns. And then got to know him, and I think he ended up making me shoot like 1,000 rounds out of his transferables that day. And he kind of was doing guided hunts, and I was doing mine. And we at one point for about a few years we were competitors.
Yeah,
Until we kind of finally got on the same page and kind of pulled our land together and kind of started guiding, helping each other out. And it's really become successful, working with you over the years. And, we've learned a lot from each other, good, the bad, and the ugly.
we have. I watch his kids grow up. He's watching my kids, and it's fun. I think I'm better friends with his kids than this knucklehead, honestly. But it's been fun. It was an interesting way, but it all came together, right? We weren't like beating each other up for customers or anything, but we just doing our own thing, We'd get information from each other, we'd help each other, and we would help each other with different companies to get in. Right.
So, well, it's all about, I guess, finding the pigs. And if you've got more than one person out there
Sure.
scouting it out. I mean, there's plenty of them to go after, right?
I mean, yes and no. They're smart. These things, they're not. I mean, they get educated fast, and it's. I think a lot of people go out there and then shoot and not really, not saying they don't know what they're doing, but not taking their time, right? And it just makes it hard for the next person to help eradicate some of these pigs. You got a guy out there to go out there and just shoot a bunch of them, and oh, I got pigs everywhere, but they've been shot at, so they're pretty smart. So you have
Right.
to start using your mind how these things work and how you can help get rid of them.
And another conversation we had recently is, I would say 12, 15 years ago, maybe in the county that we live in, there was probably maybe 5 or 6 guys that had a night vision scope or thermal. So there was just pigs
Wow.
everywhere. Now a thermal is a household item. So, it's kinda getting harder to find those big populations, even though there's never a shortage in Texas. But you've seen over the years how, especially the bigger ones, they're kinda harder to find because everybody and their brother has a thermal nowadays, which is good. So, that's kinda how the, industry has evolved for it to be a household item, especially in Texas.
A
So
lot, a lot of guys that, I mean, I remember when I bought my first thermal, right? I had to give a kidney, a heart, toe. And I said, "How am I pay for this?" I mean, it was like
Right. Oh, yeah.
$8,000, $9,000. I used my
Right.
card, but I was like, "Man, I made a bad decision." When I got home, looked through it at night, I said, "Ho, ho, ho." Man, I killed everything within miles of my house.
Yeah.
I mean, everything. I was so happy. I'd laugh.
Yeah.
I'd go home. I would kill 25 a night, and I'm like, my wife goes, "How come you got a big smile?" I said, I think I found my second girlfriend, And I was married. I was just shooting everything, right?
Yeah.
But then as the years went on, they got more affordable, more affordable. Now everybody has one.
Right.
So everybody, not guys that would never even think about buying it, they look through one and they're gonna have to even everybody in their deer stand has one.
but you still have to lose sleep, you still have to
Yeah,
go
oh
in there,
yeah.
you still have to have access to land if you don't own the land,
Yeah.
so that's half the battle, so
I've been in the industry long enough to see these kind of phenomena happen before. I remember a while back climbing deer stands changed deer hunting dramatically,
oh, yeah.
and it caused this explosion in bow hunting. So you had, very primitive archery equipment, and then you see this new technique of hunting, and now, everybody in the world is getting into the archery game, and the equipment advanced very, very rapidly, and the price stabilized and then started to come down. So it's been nice to see that happen, with thermal. I mean, it's been such a revolution in the hunting industry. It's opened up an entire new segment and an entire new hunting opportunity for recreation for families and people. So it's pretty cool to see that happen.
Yeah, it's gotten to the point where I think the normal person can afford it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And go out there and enjoy it where before they had to go with their friend and everybody had to share one scope, right? Now their friends are able to afford these scopes and everybody's got one.
And it really is a tool. I mean, it's a tool, it's a necessity, especially in the South. If you own land, if your family owns land, or if you're simply, doing it as sport, it's a tool, and it's basically one of those things that has evolved into a household item.
Yep.
So let's shift back, Chris. Uh, let's get a little bit of your background. A lot of people know you. For those that don't, I look at you as a mentor. Known you now for probably 5 years, and I've kinda watched you over the years evolve into this thing now that you have with Fusion Thermal. Tell us a little bit about how you got started in the industry, because when I first heard this story, I thought about it for days, like, how you got into, just the optics,
Right.
and you 'cause you at first, you weren't even in this industry, you were totally something else.
Yeah, this is a second life for me. This is a, post Katrina endeavor. Uh, we're in Hammond, Louisiana, and Katrina was a cataclysmic event in this part of the world. So it really changed a lot of things, and I'll save you all the trail of tears on that. But it really put my life in the path of a lot of people's lives in a different direction. But I had a pivotal moment. It was interesting that Angel was talking about his first experience with the night vision hunt and how it changed his life. Because the same thing happened to me. I had a very good friend a guy named Eldred Pedernastra. He's one of the finest guys I've ever known. He's no longer with us, but we used to do a lot of hunting together, and he insisted one evening hunt that I take his Steiner 10 by 50 military marine binoculars into the stand with me. He says, if you don't hunt with binoculars, you need to bring a set of binoculars with you. So I did, and I got to tell you, it set my life on a different course. I, from that moment, became exceptionally passionate about optics.
Yep.
And so I started just studying and reading and analyzing, talking to technical people and marketing people and anybody that would answer the phone and, would let me bend their ear for a while. And next thing you know, I'm counseling friends. And then next thing you know, it's the friends of friends are coming to see me. And I had just gotten out of grad school, and there was this thing coming called the internet.
Yep.
And so this is back in 1994. There was one internet connection in the entire city of New Orleans, and that was at Tulane University. And so I saw that this was something that was going to change, in that it was very likely that people would seek out information just as they have and look at wanting to buy these kind of more expensive luxury goods because they might could find a deal and shave a few dollars here and there. And so that's how we got started in the industry. And then, of course, the thermal thing, it just exploded. And as well as some of the other factories had done in the industry, and the innovation that they had brought, I really felt like there was something missing for the U.S. market. And so when Fusion Thermal was born, the whole concept was to fill that gap, to highly Americanize these devices, to make them simple to use, to make them robust, and to really offer something that people just simply weren't getting in other devices. So it's been quite a journey. And, now we've got Wave Infrared, which is a new brand. And it's super, super exciting. And like Angel said, the price has come down. And you said it's a household thing now. It's a great industry to be in. And it's full of just fantastic people, too.
Yes.
And that's why I'm super stoked about this podcast here, Thermal Thugs. I mean, we've got thugs all over the country, right?
What a name. How fitting.
Yeah, right. And so it's anyway, I love my story and I love telling it, but it all comes down to just an unbelievable passion for all things optics.
Yep. And you have knocked it out of the park with one of the Fusion Thermal's greatest builds. I remember we probably met, the 5 years ago, and then you kind of came to me and you knew that, I put my hands on a lot of these different optics, not biased to any one product. And you kind of picked my brain and said, well, what would you do? What would you make different? And I thought, what I was telling you, you probably would listen, but it would never come to fruition, or maybe you thought that.
Yeah.
And sure enough, when, you develop some of these and some of the concepts that I had threw out there, it came out, and I was super. And that's the thing about Chris, he's going to take feedback and he wants to know the end user, just like on the Wave product that came out last month, like the first, dozen units, he did not want to hit the market until he got them in the hands of some hunters that really put some hours behind them. And man, it's been a great journey and a long time coming, and I'm excited for the future. So Angel, tell us some of your latest and greatest projects. I know a lot of people want to know when you sleep. When do you sleep? Because if you've seen your Instagram, which I know everybody follows, Sandy Creek Outfitters, like you're at it, day and night. We also know that, you pretty much run day-to-day operations at Johnny's Sports Shop over in Eagle Lake, Texas,
Yes, sir.
which is a dealer of Fusion.
Yes, sir.
Tell us when you sleep, man.
Man, so I became really passionate about this years ago. It was so I wanted thermals, I wanted guns. I said, how am I gonna pay for it, right? So I said, man, I just start taking people and I make money at it. And at the beginning, I'm not gonna lie, it was for the money, you know? And then as the years went on, it was a passion. I've got to meet some really neat people over the years, you know, and
I mean, you've had people come from all over the world.
all
hunt
over,
with you.
yeah. And it's worked out, and it's because of contacts, right? It's sometimes like me and Steve take people out, and it doesn't involve money, but it involves the people they know, you know? And I was like, so how do we get from this place to this place, right? You've got to go through here to get to here, and it's worked out. We've been blessed. I mean, we've had like some really neat people. You know, we've got to put different thermals in different people's hands. And has it helped us sell thermals? Maybe 50-50, right? But it's helped us put in contact with people that have come hunting with us, and they've inquired about different stuff. So it works both ways. But back to that, I probably get 3 or 4 hours of sleep, you know, at night. I like doing it. Some nights I say I'm not doing this, I'm tired. They go, "Why is the buggy hooked up?" I'm just gonna check one field, right? And on the way home, we're fortunate to live in the woods. And the best part is, my boss, she works in Michigan, so she flies out every Sunday or Monday. She's gone all week, so I don't have anybody yell at me at home.
There you go.
You know, so and I like doing it. You know, and it's fun.
It really is.
It's a lot of fun.
Well, the real secret to this guy, if you want to know the truth, is his wife.
Yeah, Stacy is the
she's-
trooper.
Yeah,
She is.
she the first time I met her, told me the story that, you know, there's husband driving out of the driveway, pulling the buggy, and she's got like rootings in her garden,
Right.
in the yard.
Yeah.
She's like, "Okay, hero, why are you leaving?"
Yeah.
There's pigs squealing in his backyard,
My
and he's going to
backyard,
hunt
yeah.
someone else's land for him.
Yeah. She was mad at me one night. She goes, "Why don't you stay home and we'll watch a movie?" I said, "I just got to get footage for these people, right?"
Yeah.
I come back home the next night, 4 acres of my backyard's tore up. And she goes, "See, if you would have stayed, you could," you know?
She knows you're passionate. She's
Yeah.
supportive.
Yeah.
And she comes to the SHOT Show with you every
Yeah, she
every
comes
year.
to SHOT Show. She's, yeah, we go eat with you every year, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and I can't thank you enough for taking us out to dinner those past 3 years.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, she's one of my favorite people, so
I appreciate
it's
it. That means a lot to
a
me.
real treat for me.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you, you mentioned the magic word, right? Land. Yeah. And, you know, you guys have been hunting for so long, and you've got your reputation in the community for being responsible when you go on somebody's land. What would you say to the new guy that wants to get started, and if he doesn't have any land that he hunts and he wants to get out there and start building a little ground that he can go into, and he's got to knock on doors? Tell me what you'd recommend that they do.
Man, there's a lot of guys. I mean, a lot of those farmers, you go to coffee shops, drink coffee with them and ask them, but it's a little more than that. You have to, I mean, these people got cattle, deer, they've got a bunch of stuff, and it's just trust. You got to start small, right? I started with my neighbor's place, you know, and he told his neighbor, it's a word of mouth. And a lot of these places that we guide on and make money on, or whatever the situation may be, we pay these people to use their place, you know, and it's fair. Like, if we're making money, let them make some money. And then the biggest part is having insurance, you know,
Yeah.
and that's the thing we have, and a lot of people do, but we have that. That's helped us get to another place, you know, a bunch of different places, right? It's people, some of these places have expensive, let's say, cattle, deer. Some of these places we hunt to help people get rid of coyotes or high fence, they've got probably $50,000 whitetails in there, you know, or they've got big bucks, they've got fallow, there's just a bunch of, but just having that kind of stuff. And I know a lot of people can't afford the insurance or do.
So what kind of insurance? Obviously it's liability.
Yep. Yeah.
But what kind of levels do people need?
So right
You
now,
won't answer that?
You're smiling.
I don't know.
Very, very high.
It's high, Chris.
Yeah.
I'd rather not say, but it's expensive, you know. And
But you gotta have it.
yeah.
And you know, we've taken out some very, very important people. A lot of the people we take out, you know, they don't want people to know that they're out shooting pigs at night. Cancel culture is real. And now a lot of pro athletes, a lot of people that, you know, we take out, we don't film a lot of or take pictures of a lot of we just respect their privacy. But yeah, just how I kind of got started. I was kind of fortunate to have had a mentor who he's 68 now, and he probably hunts, would you say, 6 nights a week?
Yeah.
He's a farmer.
Right.
He's a landowner.
That's a beast at 68.
Man,
Yeah,
he's an amazing guy.
he's ate up with it.
God, like me. Meet him.
You know, and he kind of walked me through the door and introduced me to farmers, and but it's basically your track record. You know, you got to have a bulletproof track record, a good reputation, and they have to see the safety. I mean, like there's places that we're hunting around, like you said, cattle. I mean, there's $100,000 PBR bulls on one of our places we hunt, and it's you just got to be careful. And there's a lot of times where we turn down shooting pigs because we just don't want to take that chance. And the farmers know that. And look, these thermals now, I mean, the big eye in the sky does not lie. They record everything.
Yeah.
And we like to record everything, just in case something does happen, which knock on wood, it hasn't. But yeah, it's just that bulletproof track record and being responsible, treat it like it's your own land. But there's guys out there. I have a nephew that, he's in college and he was out in Lubbock, and, I brought him up and hunting, and he had his own thermal, and he simply went around just knocking on doors using OnX and talking to landowners and farmers. And you'd be surprised how many people, you know, uh, trusted him to go out and shoot pigs. And, he has some amazing land out there just by knocking on doors. But again, you've got to stay in contact with that landowner, let him know what you did, what you're doing.
That's a big part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then respecting, like Steve said, you have to. So a lot of guys, hey, don't drag them. I drag them in the woods. I treat it like it's my
Well,
own
I
place.
noticed that when I hunted with you that, and we killed a bunch of pigs
Yeah.
that night. I forget how many it was,
It
but
was a good night.
yeah, you drug them all out of the fields, and I was not surprised, but to me it could have gone either way, right?
Yeah.
You've got these large fields, and what's a dead pig in a field
Yeah.
really mean? But I guess it just shows respect for the landowner.
And they see that.
Yeah.
And they're like, a guy goes, hey, you didn't have to do that. And I do. I mean, sometimes we take people, hey, let's keep going. I said, man, I've told you this is part of the deal. I have to drag these things out of here.
Right.
And then we've got drags, that we've got from the back of the buggy. We just drag them like we did last time. What does it take, an extra 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Drag them to there. And it's just respect, like you say. And it goes a long ways. And that's just doing that has helped me get some more properties. And this guy drags them. Really? Yeah.
Interesting.
I think you just like to make the big piles and take the pictures and
do,
put
I
them on
do.
your Instagram.
But every night's not like that, I promise you. We've had some nights, 2 or 3, and some nights have been good,
But it's been a while since we goose egged. I couldn't name the last time we probably went out and didn't produce.
No, I've gone a couple nights by myself in the past couple weeks that I could have, but I was just lazy. I just didn't want to walk 600 yards to shoot them,
So, speaking of 600 yards, so everybody wants to know are you a bolt gun hunter now, even with the pigs? What's the deal? What's the latest and greatest? What is Angel Padilla? What is he what's his go-to caliber rifle? We know you are, and one thing I think what a lot of people like about you is you're not a one-trick pony. You don't have one single thermal manufacturer, even though I would love for you to hunt with Just Wave, but we would never ask you to do that. You like every time you post, it's a different thermal, it's a different gun, it's a different caliber, but I know you have a single caliber. What is it?
Man, my latest and greatest is a 22 Creedmoor. I fell in love with that.
Really?
Oh,
On pigs.
oh yeah. That's what I've been using for the past 2 months. And
And I've doubted you on that.
Yeah.
And then the last couple of guides on solo bores where you let an inexperienced shooter shoot that.
man, that
22
80 grain
Creed.
ELDX just knocks them down.
Yeah.
So I bought this gun, Horizon Firearms, from I think they're in Shiner, Texas. Everybody told me you got to get 22 Creedmoor. I was like, what's the difference? So I bought one, and I changed the chassis out. I put it in a Gray Birch chassis, real lightweight deal.
Right.
They come with Arca Swiss rail, but so I started shooting pins. I said, oh my God, this is devastating. And it goes with me every day.
Really?
I take it with me every day in my truck. And I think we shot a 340-pound pig not too long ago. One shot dead. But it's all where the shot placement too is, right? I'm sure we could have done with a 223 or something like that. But it just hits and explodes. So right now, if we got a single pig, I said, just put it on 150 yards. We're not walking. Done. And I'm like, I said, Steve, I told you this thing's devastating. Is it the best thing out there? I don't think so. I just think it works for me, and it's what I want to use for now. But it works. I'm really impressed. I probably put 400 rounds for that thing already.
But
I like it so much that I play with it at home.
when you're guiding your clients, they're not using the 22 Creed unless it's a solo.
Yeah, just a solo. No.
They're what AR platform 7.62-39.
7.62 by 39, and recently we started using another company, Britain USA.
Yep.
They came and hunted with us probably last year, right, Steve? And they left us a couple of guns to try out. So we've been using that for the past probably a year, and a 300 hammer, a 6 arc, and a 6.8.
6.8, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Steve's fixing a 22 arc caliber for his varmint stuff, but they've worked out really well. They're 18-inch barrels. I mean, these guns are super at sub-MOA, and that's what we've been using. Probably, and I switched back between the CMMG Mutants. You know, actually, it's called the CMMG Descent now. 7.62 by 39. We use a bunch of that stuff, and they just run. Those guns just run.
And the ammo at one time was readily available and
Cheap.
affordability.
That's down the drain. It's nothing cheap this day, you know. And so, but those guns, they run, you know, and I've had really good luck. I've got some of those CMMGs, probably got 10,000 rounds through them, easy. So I can go probably 3 or 4 trips without cleaning them, and they just go and go and go.
So when we're guiding, you can tell for the people that don't know, we're using. So when I first started out, it was frowned upon to use a shooting stick, and you can probably remember these days, or a tripod. Everything was freehand, and this was 15, 20 years ago. You know, now without a shooting stick or a tripod, and you don't have to have $1,000 carbon fiber tripod. You can have just, you know, mono stick, but it's amazing. And we still, to this day, will guide people, and they're like, oh, I don't want to use a stick.
Yeah.
But then that one group, they go back to the stick.
All right.
Yeah,
So-
it's just crazy because you go
Arca
back
Swiss rail
that's still
on a good tripod. I mean, my goodness.
And plus, it's safe, especially when you have 4 shooters.
Yeah. What we do is we lock them in, you know, and then walk with them already on there. That way they're not sitting there fumbling stuff and the pigs and stuff like that. It just makes a world of difference, you know, and it just saves a lot of time because you've already got them locked in. You walk up under the deal and you're ready to go.
Well, I'll tell you, it was interesting for me when we came and hunted with you. You know, being a little longer in the tooth, I'll tell you one of the things that's most important to me is safety. And to watch you kind of work that line of shooters, and everybody's got their lane and everybody's lined up perfectly. I felt unbelievably safe, and everything was, I mean, under control. And you know, you're doing this in the dark, right? I mean, there's some starlight and stuff out there, but
Not very much.
and so it can, you know, you could imagine how it could easily get out of hand and become a really catastrophic situation for somebody.
Oh, it can happen really fast.
You're right.
And I've stopped people shooting, you know, I've grabbed their guns and moved out of the way or pulled them away because they were just being unsafe. And the thing is that once the pigs start running, everything gets up, you know, your excitement, everybody wants to be the one that kills the most, right? They just keep going and going, or hey, they're going to the left. And I try to put everybody in a line where when they move to the left, they run into the other guy before they can actually, the muzzle goes anywhere else. And it's something I've learned over the years. It's not something that happens right away, but I've learned, how can I make this better? How can I make this safer?
Right.
You know, and the thing is, if something ever happened, I could never live with myself, you know, I don't want to make that phone call. So I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure everybody's safe and we all go home. My main thing is I tell everybody this is the way it's going to be. That way we can go home and tell everybody good stories.
Right.
We can go home, show everybody pictures, right? And everybody laughs, but I'm being serious at that point, you know?
You know, I'll tell you from a manufacturer standpoint, liability is always something that you've got to be mindful of. And it's really interesting to me how when people first get their thermals, they're really excited about it, right? If they've never hunted with it. And there's what I call the video game phenomena, right? It's almost like they're so excited about the thermal and the capabilities of this thing that they have momentary lapse of
Yep.
of good safety shooting rules. And I've seen that on videos posted online where, there's the pig running and man, he runs and there's the farmer's house,
Yep.
and bang, 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 bang. So to me, safety, if this night hunting industry is going to be with us, the laws are catching up, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
They are.
This thing's gone so fast, so quickly that so many states just didn't get their laws in place. And now you see a lot of new things coming on the book. It's opened up a whole bunch of new nighttime hunting opportunities for different people. But if we want to keep that for the next generation of hunters coming, we have to be safe and responsible.
Absolutely. And that's always on our mind, the forefront.
Oh, yeah.
This could all end, next year, the
Very-
night hunting deal and regulated. And, that's one thing that's on our mind. And we kind of, being, I guess, ambassadors of the sport, and a lot of people come to us for advice and, buying their first thermal. And then, of course, 90% of the time, although we do have a lot of repeat customers, people have never even looked through these things, much less shot an AR platform. And we've got to put safety first. And his briefing before his hunt is amazing. I've learned a lot through him over the past, and he has it down verbatim. And still, after that first set, he still will critique that hunter and say, "Hey, could have done this a little better. Could have done this. Should have done this." And that's why I think he's so successful, and he has a lot of repeat clients, and he has a lot of people that bring their kids and their grandkids to hunt with him because they know how safe he is.
Right. Say, I always like one of the things I tell people: if you're shooting, if it's in that screen, it's too late. It's done. You can't go back.
Right.
So they go, "What do you mean?" There's no depth perception with a thermal, and by the time it catches up, you're already done. So let's keep that in mind. It's like, the cow or the deer. What? No, he's already there. That's why we don't shoot. I make sure if there's something there, we go all the way around to make sure we're nowhere near. I'd rather pass up that group of pigs.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And or then have something happen because it's too easy for us to move, right? Or hey, only one person can shoot. Well, just one guy's gonna be able to shoot instead of trying to get everybody and have an unsafe situation.
Well, I would imagine if you're going to work hard to get access to land,
Oh, yeah.
not only do you have to, respect the landowner's property, but if you had an unsafe reputation, that would get around like wildfire.
Like wildfire.
Yes, this whirlwind is super small. You know that yourself. Everybody knows everybody.
Super small world. Speaking of industry, some of the highlights. Chris, tell everybody, and this is a great story. I guess everyone is familiar with Fusion. It's been out now for several years. Tell everybody and kind of walk people through the second line, the Wave product, and why you came out with Wave, and tell us a little bit about what it does and what the release and the latest products are.
Okay. So I guess it first starts with, if you're going to build what I think is a great product, you have to have a solid design philosophy. What it is that you're going to try and accomplish. So many of the products on the market were just crafted by engineers, and a lot of them in Asia that have never hunted anything in their life,
Right.
never touched a gun in their life. So they cram these scopes full of features that work or sometimes don't work or work okay,
Mhm.
or are completely useless that get in your way and make the device more complex. So when we started Fusion Thermal, I really wanted to correct that, and we were fortunate enough. We have a small factory in Europe, and the physicist that uh, owns this factory had a really unique spin on the technology. He does something to sensors in the way they're calibrated that really nobody else is going to take the time to do. It's a very lengthy and expensive process. But it makes the product perform at a very different level. And he's also what we call an energy first designer. And so I remember one of some of the early lectures that he gave to me about, what it is that we need to try and accomplish. He's talking about the lens, and he's like, you can go out on the internet and see specifications for just about anything, and there's a new marketing flavor of the month for what's the important specification. And there's really none that are focused on the quality of that front lens, and that lens is not made of glass. It's made of a metalloid called germanium.
Yep.
And so for visible light, you can't see through germanium. It's non-transparent. So it's not like a day scope. You can look through it and see poor quality of the glass. That doesn't happen in thermal, but poor quality shows. So his philosophy was, let's use the very best germanium lens that we can. We slightly oversize it. You've got a sensor. If you've got a 384, the industry standard is a 35 millimeter lens. It's more than sufficient to provide enough infrared energy onto the face of a sensor that's got about 110,000 pixels. But when you jump to 640 and now you've got 320,000 pixels, you got to have a much bigger lens to feed all of the energy that sensor can use, or you won't get the full benefit of that sensor.
Right.
So his philosophy was high quality, let's oversize it. We shape the lens slightly different. And so we ended up with a scope that really performed beyond what you would expect from a similar competitive item. But I wanted to take it to the next step. I really felt like there was an opportunity for us to exploit the weaknesses of what was on the market, because most of these devices were, extremely complicated.
Yep.
It had a high learning curve. If you didn't use it all the time, you had to go through that learning curve again. So we developed this internal mantra that if we were going to build scopes, they were going to be so simple to use, you'd never read the manual. And so everything that we do when we design these products is built around that. And if it screws that up, we don't do it.
Right.
And so this is where Fusion Thermal came to be. We simplified the control panels. We've got things down to 3 buttons on top. They're easy to find in the dark instead of 5 or 6, like a TV remote on top of the thing. And it just worked for us. We constantly heard, as proud as we were about the quality of our products and the image quality, really the thing that everybody loved about it was the simplicity.
Yep.
Okay. And people in, like in business that take people out that, if they've never run a thermal scope before or an AR before, everything's new to them.
Yep.
So they were constantly pushing the wrong buttons, and somebody had to come in and like, oh, what I can't, I'm not ready to shoot because something's wrong with my scope, and Angel's got to run over there and fix it. Right. Well, we got the feedback that wasn't happening when they had switched to our equipment. So that was really, really positive. The challenge for Fusion Thermal is that it's built in Europe to an extremely high standard with European labor. And so it's out of the reach of a lot of the shoppers on the market. And the guys that are really passionate about it, the ones that don't need sleep, I'm not talking about freaks of nature like Angel here, but a lot of them are in their 20s. And so they're just not at a stage in their life where they have a lot of money to dump into this.
Sure.
People get in their 30s and they've got kids, right? So we recognized that there was a big part of the market that we simply couldn't reach with Fusion Thermal. And so we said, okay, so we know we need to go somewhere else to build a product that can help get the price down. So that was a 2-year journey. We interviewed some of the best manufacturers around the world, primarily in Asia, and finally chose a partner that we thought was going to allow us to provide some of the lessons that we learned in the fusion thermal product. And so we took a lot of what we learned in fusion and put it into wave. And it's it's been great. It's taken off like crazy.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to say about the simplicity. I can't tell you the evolution from night vision scopes to thermal. There was a lot of hesitant, maybe the older generation of the farmers that would just not get away from the really high-end night vision scopes because all they had to do was flip a switch and it came on. And they were
Right.
very hesitant to
Yeah.
get into the thermal game because it was like working a computer.
I still deal with that. Got guys that come in, they want nothing. They don't care about recording. They don't want nothing. They want to turn it on and shoot pigs.
Right.
That's it. And they're going to use it twice a year. That's it.
And I think
Yeah. And so you've, who wants more complication in
Right.
their life, right?
Yeah.
If you go into this and you do it periodically, you don't want to have to get the manual out,
sure.
On Friday evening, drive into wherever it is you're going to go to shoot pigs.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a great journey. I'm thank you for bringing that up. We are just getting started in the market wave, have some unbelievably innovative products. You talked about bolt guns growing in the segment. So we have the advanced thermal rifle scope, the Atris, which is built on that traditional tube scope
Yep.
design. And then, and I want to make sure we talk, because I know you're super passionate about it, but I don't know his level of passion on coyotes. But of course,
It's getting there.
that
I pass them up all the time.
but that segment of the market's growing really, really fast, and a lot of those guys, are engaging pigs,
Yes.
coyotes at longer ranges, right?
Yes.
And you said something interesting about these pigs get smart really quick.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I've heard that from coyote guys.
Oh yeah.
Somebody goes out there with a cheap digital night vision, and all they end up doing is like educating coyotes.
Educating the coyotes. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, this younger generation, my kids now, I guess maybe they've shot a lot of pigs, but when we take them out, there's a group of pigs, they'll wait on a coyote. They'd rather sit in the buggy and not shoot pigs than shoot a coyote or a bobcat.
So
Yeah,
you let them walk, huh?
I let all the time. Yeah, I do. I pass them up. I just next time. But I mean, I got customers. I want to shoot that. I said, you want to shoot that, or you want to blow, or you want to shoot them pigs? Well, can we do both? I said, no. I said, they got silencer, but this is not James Bond quiet. Everybody goes, well, you got a suppressor. I said, you've watched too many movies. It doesn't work
Right.
that way. But sometimes on the way back, when we're done, and some of these properties are real big. So on the way back, you run into a coyote or into one. We'll stop and we'll shoot them. I've got a call that I bought a couple of years ago that he taught me into buying. I've used it a couple of times. As a matter of fact, I called the bobcat in the other day. I couldn't believe it. I turned it on and
I saw that post.
yeah, came in. I'm like, oh my God, it works, But yeah, I pass him up.
But you're bitten pretty hard though.
Oh yeah.
He is, yeah.
Yep. There's nothing like calling in a coyote and it come charging in through a thermal, it's just, I don't know, maybe I've just been shooting pigs for way too long. But yeah, the predator game it's a bug now. And a lot of these guys that have been around killing pigs with ARs, that you're seeing them run these bolt guns now with the traditional style thermal scope. So
This bolt gun stuff's gotten out of hand. I built like 5 of them now. The one Horizon is the factory built gun, but all the other ones I've built. And the problem is my wife goes, hey, I thought all the same gun, baby. All I did was change the thermal from one to the other.
So even when we fun hunt now, which is very seldom, we'll take the kids out and do a little quick fun hunt.
Yeah.
We have our AR platforms, but Angel still has his bolt. You can hear him in the video over there.
Oh yeah.
I've gotten really good at it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I've gotten better at it. I mean, they used to make fun of me. I'm like, so I started with, factory guns, and I worked I said, there's no difference there. But there is. There's a big difference in a nice bolt gun with nice action, and I'm like, this is fun. Maybe I'm getting older. I don't know. But
Well, it'll discipline you to aim better, right?
no,
If you don't have bullets to spray everywhere.
Yeah.
it's so you've got some of the stuff I run, it's got 10 rounds in it. So you have to make them count, right? So it helps you. I got really sloppy over the last couple of years. I just got lazy. I just keep pulling trigger. You got 30 rounds, right? So I'm like, man, I've got 10 rounds. I gotta make it happen. And the first time I used it, I'm like, man, I shot 6 pigs. This is pretty cool, you know?
Just 10 rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, just 10 rounds, you know? I'm like, compared to everything else. But yeah, like that. We had a group the other night and 120 rounds, you know, between the 4 people, right? I'm like, you got 8 pigs, you know, out of like that. But I'm like that too. I've gotten
Well, it's
back.
all smiles, I bet.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
You know, you look
yeah.
at it, I'm looking through my helmet, through I see stuff everywhere. I'm like, to the left, right, left. You know, it's like a football coach. More left, more right, you know, but they're having fun, right? And that's all that really matters.
Right.
So I want to back up to the wave transition from fusion to wave. You mentioned when you first approached me, you know, a couple of years ago, and you know, had this idea of the wave line, and the first thing that I thought, and I'll be quite honest with you, when you said affordability, the first thing that I thought was you're going to sacrifice quality, and I went along with it, and you know, the first time I looked through one of these wave units, I think the prototype 6-7 months ago, I was floored, and I said, how much is this scope? And you told me the price point, and I was floored because the quality that you get with this wave line at the price point is just, it's almost too good to be true.
Well, part of that was really good fortune.
Yeah.
Right as
It had to have been.
yeah,
Because
you know, look, we're awfully proud of what we do, but the truth is that there was a pretty good technology leap that was just coming commercially available to these manufacturers. And so we were able to make that next leap. You know, it costs more to do it, but it made all the difference.
Yeah.
It just exploded the performance of these devices. And again, you know, a lot of it comes down to making sure that you're using really good quality germanium lenses. That is probably the most least understood aspect of what makes a great thermal
Right.
perform is having great quality germanium. And, you know, most of what's on the market isn't.
Right.
That's just a fact of it.
That's where they sacrifice some of the cost and quality is in
Yep.
the germanium lens.
That's why I think, you know, I tell people all the time, it's fine to start your research online, but you really need to go to a trusted source
Sure.
and find someone that can guide you based on experience. Go somewhere you can look through the devices, or they just have such a strong reputation that they're not going to steer you wrong. And that's part of what, quite honestly, appealed me to Johnny's. The first time I stumbled in there, I was like, oh man, I love this place.
Yeah.
You know, it was just crammed full of everything wonderful, right? And people there, this guy in particular, knew what the hell he was talking about.
There's been so many people that have passed through there and did not know what was inside that store, you know, for years. And then when they finally come in, they're like, wow,
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I remember the first time you drove up, you know, you came to show us your product. I said, this guy looks like he's selling Kirby vacuum cleaners, you know? I said, what's this guy doing? He's all dressed up. I mean, everything's ironed to a T, clean fingernails. I said, did he get a flat tire? Does he need a jack? We got one in the shop, you know?
But he also had that overwhelming look because each store was cram-packed with inventory. I think this was like in the height of COVID, and we were like one of the only stores in the US just getting pallets of ammo. So it was like a destination. We had people driving from Colorado, wherever, to buy ammo. It was a crazy time
It
then.
was nuts. It was.
Well, they'd let me out of the office occasionally.
Yeah, every once in a while.
Yeah.
I said, this guy looks out of place, you know?
That speaks volumes for you, Chris. Not too many owners and founders and presidents and CEOs of companies are gonna come to Eagle Lake, Texas. I mean, they do now, but, you know, that's kind of where, you know, I stopped and listened to you when, you know, the owner of the company comes in and actually shows you the product and goes over everything. That speaks volumes, so.
Well, without question, it is still the favorite part of my job.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't get a chance to get out and do it as much as I would like to. But, you know, being in those stores, visiting with our resellers, dialoguing with customers, and it's really fun, you know, if you go in and you do a little training thing with the guy behind the counter and the consumer's listening and they get all intrigued, and that's very rewarding for me. And so it's fun. And I I've got to make an annual trip to Johnny's, just because I have to.
I appreciate that. It means a lot.
Yeah.
It's been a long road, but look where we're at today.
Right.
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 From you just stopping in, and look where we're at today. It's a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
It's a lot. I mean, and then when Steve goes, hey, you have to look at this stuff. I'm like, okay, bring it. He brought us it, man. This is for the price point. This is amazing.
Yeah.
It really is. It's shown where we're at because a lot of guys from the videos we've posted, and a lot of people post different videos from different companies, right? People pay attention to the internet. Just because they don't follow you or watch or ask you every day, they watch what you do. They watch what you're using, videos and stuff. I've had like today, hey, I saw that video you posted, show me that thermal.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in the parking lot today, showing people the thermals, and they go, hey, did you spruce that up? Did you Photoshop that? Or, no, this is it. This is what it is. And today was a humid day, which everybody knows thermals don't like humidity, and it performed today.
It really performs great in subpar conditions. That's really what caught my attention because not every night's perfect, especially when you're guiding. And, some of the manufacturers and thermals in the past, it kind of bothered me to let a client look through even the best thermal in the market in subpar conditions, humidity, moisture. We're in South Texas, we're in Louisiana now. It's relatively same heat and humidity. But what I noticed even the other night when we ended up taking, that group of 4 out when it was raining,
Yes, sir.
almost called it off and didn't, what these wave thermal perform like in the rain. It's just blew me away. So,
And this, quite honestly, is when you to perform under adverse conditions, and I would add mosquitoes into Texas conditions.
Oh, yeah.
So, right, don't forget mosquitoes.
Not too far away from that.
I will tell you, a lot of the things that we do aren't necessary to just go kill pigs. But if you want a thermal that performs in the worst environmental conditions, there's not a thermal made that's not going to be affected by environmental conditions.
Right.
That's just a fact.
No, they're all like,
But if you want to see less of that influence, in your visual scene, then this is where paying attention to the details really matter. And, it's nice to have a product that's a little more affordable for that client that we couldn't reach before with the Fusion Thermal brand. I guess we're blessed with both worlds. The Fusion Thermal thing for the guys that can afford it, or we almost have like a cult-like following. People really just love it. I mean, the thing's just a beast.
yeah.
But it's fun. And really with the Tempest now, with the laser rangefinder
Yes.
and integrated ballistics, my passion is long-range shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So having a good, solid ballistics program that could easily be incorporated into the device to complement the laser. So if you get that coyote hung up at 300 or 400 yards, it's still an option, right? Of course, safety first, but we've got a ballistic system in that we support to 600 yards.
Yes.
I've run it to 1,000, but beyond 600 is where environmental conditions really start to kick in, and it's just, I don't think people need to shoot thermals beyond 600.
Right.
Right.
And your unit, your Tempest unit that you sent me several months back, that video of you shooting out to 600 yards with the different steel targets, started at 100 all the way to 600.
Yeah.
That video was left on that unit, and I pulled the video. And I'm like, I showed Angel. I was like, dude, you've got to see this.
yeah.
It's amazing how quickly you can run the field,
Yeah.
right? Your biggest time is getting the laser reticle
On
target.
Yeah.
And once that occurs, the ballistic information is instantaneous.
Right.
And then you crack the shot.
Yep.
And so it's that's been a lot of fun. I'd spent the better part of the summer proving out all of that ballistics and running it, and it was a lot of fun. I got to do a lot of shooting this year, which is pretty cool.
The Midwest hunters are gonna love that, man. So
Yeah, look, I for the price, you've got products that are $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 that don't have the capability that this thing does. So we're really excited about bringing that opportunity to the Dakotas and the Midwest hunters, all those kind of longer range coyote guys.
Yes. And that unit you brought back the joystick, which was popular in the past with the Trijicon, the Reaps, with the joystick, with the gloves.
Yeah.
People in the Midwest wearing gloves, and that's probably the longest standing thermal I ran was the Reap 35 and 60, and man, I love that joystick. But then the scope itself kind of was outdated and phased out with the lens system it used, and ultimately, uh, bigger and better came out. But man, I really did miss that joystick personally. And for you to come back out with that, and we really didn't even talk about that. You didn't, pick my brain on that. But man, I've that joystick is awesome.
Yeah. I was scared. I'm not gonna lie. When I saw it, I said, "Oh man,"
Oh man,
you know.
like playing an Atari.
I know, but once I played,
Well, for guys that have hair color like mine, I didn't grow up in the video generation. So honestly, it scared me too.
no, I was, and when you were telling me like that, and I said, "Man, what am I gonna do with this thing?" Right? I turned it on. I started. I said, "Man, it's a lot easier than I thought." Right? And I actually walked a customer through it this morning. You know, and he goes, "I'm worried about this." I said, "No, look." So we had two of them going. I said, "Left, right, this, boom, done."
Yeah. There are so many people that love that IR defense unit when
Yeah.
it came out. It really just revolutionized
It did.
the market. And, but I didn't have a whole lot of experience with the joystick too. So I had a lot of concerns. And so we spent a lot of time looking at the functionality of that. And ultimately when, we put the ability in there to customize the tension setting. Because let's face it, I mean, some guys have big fingers and some guys have little fingers and some guys have fingers that, work concrete all their life and they're pretty much numb and they could press a finger through a 2x4.
Right.
So being able to customize the pressure that makes the action happen was the final key to making that product work so perfect. But it's going to take a little learning curve for some folks.
It did. I mean, I've been playing a couple of days with the one I have, and I've got to the point now where I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes it nice and compact.
Yes, sir.
And, there's not multiple buttons, right? So you
No.
can, if you find the joystick, you can run the device.
Yep, that's the thing with me. You're in the dark 90% of the time you're using this unit, and the joystick is just so easy to use. So, Angel, if someone wants to book a hunt with you, Sandy Creek Outfitters in Texas, and I know that you've had clients come from Germany, Australia, all over the world, China.
Yeah, it's been
So how do they get in touch with you? How do they book?
They can DM me on Instagram at Santa Creek Outfitters or at Santa Creek Outfitters at gmail.com.
Okay. Yeah, everybody I'm sure is kind of seeing your Instagram in one area. That's probably the best way to reach you.
Yes, sir. They can DM and just be patient. I mean,
Yep.
I work full time, so it's like sometimes periodically I looked at during the day or something, and I usually after 5 o'clock.
Or if they want to come see you during the day
Yeah.
at Johnny Sports Shop
Come-
in Eagle Lake, Texas.
come to Johnny
Justin
Sports
Neece
Shop. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can go Lake, Texas. You can look through some of the Wave stuff and from the Fusion stuff. We're master dealers. Be more than glad to walk you through it and show you
Awesome.
stuff. Yeah.
Yep. So, Happy New Year to both of y'all. We're going into this new year. It's January. It's getting to be trade show year. Are you guys going to be at SHOT this year?
Yes, sir. I get there Monday with my beloved wife, and she's gonna let me hang out for a couple of days and go look at some
Awesome.
products. And I'm gonna go visit.
So
some man
Chris,
here.
yeah,
Chris, yeah.
Fusion, they have a booth.
Yeah.
Had a booth last year.
We'll be there in the law enforcement area.
Okay.
And we'll have as of yet undisclosed product coming out.
Nice.
Really?
Accessible.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
That'd be good.
But SHOT is always this big celebration for the gun industry at the beginning of the
Sir.
year, and we get to see our clients, and it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, episode 1 in the books, inaugural episode,
We
Thermal
did it.
Thugs. Yeah. And treat to have you come over from Texas and be our first guest.
Man, I appreciate it, man. I was putting a minivan this afternoon and said, "Hey, we're going for a podcast."
There you
I said,
go.
"Let's go." Something like out of a cartel deal. Get in the minivan, we're going. Man, I appreciate it, Chris. Thanks for the invite. It's been amazing. Steve, I can't thank you guys enough. Thank
Yep.
you.
Chris,
It was a lot of fun.
it really has. Looking forward to many.
Thanks for sharing. There are so many people out there that really want to hear what you have to say. And you've been doing it for so long. And of course, we've got Steve. He's, another super experienced guy in the industry. And Steve, I'm super stoked about where Thermal Thugs is going to go as a
Yes,
podcast.
absolutely.
There's so many great guys around the country that I've had an opportunity to meet, or yet to meet, that will either come here or we'll patch them in.
Yep.
But that's going to be pretty cool.
We're going to get an exciting lineup, a VIP lineup.
This is cool. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see what the future holds for you guys. For everybody.
And then we'll have you back on, of course.
Yeah,
Yep. Good deal.
a lot of fun.
Well, thanks for joining us on the first episode of Thermal Thugs. We will see you out in the field.